Okay, here's a walk around of my 1964 Triumph Tr4. Now it's a German market car, and there are a couple of German market things that are a little unusual. We've got the octagonals on the knockoffs. If you look at the taillights are amber up top instead of red all the way down. We've got the USA here, which I think is original to the car. It's probably been on there since purchase new. And I think what's really unusual about the German market car is that the ignition is actually underneath the dash, and there's a steering lock. And you can see for the Triumph folks who don't really recognize this key is the ignition key, and it goes to the steering wheel lock underneath the dash. It's a Neiman key, and if you search for Neiman keys, you'll pay 10 bucks. But it's actually the same key that a Ferrari Dino used. So if you search for a Ferrari Dino key, you'll pay 50 bucks. You can see you've got all three original keys. And what's great is the dealership, actually the German dealer, wrote in the paperwork each of the key numbers, including the Neiman key as well. The car was purchased by an American service member as a captain. I looked him up actually, and he was in Germany around that same time and went on to go to Vietnam. So that was kind of interesting. Okay, so as we're walking around, you can see in the photographs, you know, there's quite a bit of like nicks and the like, you know, on the paint, you know, along the hood here, you know, front fenders. You can really see that in the photographs and stuff. You can see some dings, you know, some more dings. You see here the line from the door. If you look in the door strap is broken on this side, which is pretty common actually. You'll see that on a lot of these cars. You'll see a bump right there. You see in the undercarriage shots, this right here is the worst part of the entire car, and that's because the drain tubes, of course, would go directly into these fenders. And these days everyone drills a hole and has the tubes go into, not into the fender itself. But that's really the only spot on the car. If you look at the right hand side, no issues here. A little ding there. So if you look at the car, you know what, I would characterize this car as pretty darn original. You know, it really hasn't been messed with, except for like this aftermarket radio someone put in there, and they didn't even actually install it. There's just some wires hanging off of it. You know, of course, it's got like the aftermarket steering wheel and the shift knob, and on the e-brake, that wooden handle. But, you know, if you look at this steering wheel, I think this steering wheel was either purchased with the vehicle new, or, you know, maybe in the 80s. You know, these Amco sun visors, those aren't original, but they're like old Amco sun visors, and I really like the sun visors actually, because, you know, you can actually see through them instead of the, you know, the white sun visors. You know, I think they look a lot better actually, but of course those aren't original. The carpets are not original. They should be salt and pepper gray. The seats have been recovered, obviously, but if you look back here, you look at the original. I mean, this is all original stuff here. And if you look at the grain of this vinyl, you know, it's a nice heavy grain, and you know, you see it's kind of worn. You'll see the pictures of how it's opened up in the photographs. But you know, I mean, I really like these original pieces, because the aftermarket ones, just that they don't really look right. You know, they're kind of puffy. They don't fit all that well. They've got a different kind of vinyl grain, and they just don't have this kind of patina and character that, you know, the original pieces really do. Okay. If you look at the panel alignments, the rear is pretty darn good actually. You kind of look at the trunk, you know, about as good as you get when it comes to, you know, these are body on frame cars, of course. You know, I put in this this trunk liner, the rubber stripping. It's okay. You know, you really can't get much better at the rubber stripping and the like. It's really difficult to find rubber stripping that actually is close to original or doesn't jack up the doors and the like. And you'll see it here as well. Like, this is clearly original stuff and it's old and terrible, but you know, if you look at it, you know, I've researched, and you know, trying to find this Furflex, you know, in the original pattern that doesn't jack up the doors and the like. You know, notice how there's like 2 here for the TR4. You know, you can get you know, the replacements is just 1 single strip and the like. But now if you look at the panels, you know, again with the trunk panel, you know, not too bad, not too bad. The door right here, you know, you could feel it ever so slightly here, and the door gap's a little wide here, you know, so the door used some adjustment. If you look at the hood, you definitely see gap here, little gap here, you know, so that, you know, the hood could definitely use being moved ever so slightly and straightened out that way. And if you look at opening up the hood, needs a little bit of help. So the hood could use being moved like 1 millimeter forward, maybe a, you know, 2 millimeters to the right. You can see here on the bumper, there was a little teeny ding right here in the bumper. When I first bought the car, I had to kind of bring down the bumper to straighten it out. It was up just ever so slight, and it was kind of fouling the hood, and you can kind of see that in the hood itself. A little bit of nicks right along in there, but you know, it sits fine now. If you look at the engine bay, it's pretty scruffy. You know, but it's very original. You know, of course these are aftermarket, the horns are aftermarket, that bottle isn't original, looks terrible. But you know, if you really look at it, you know, I mean, these right here are you know, square bolts to the an old style radio that was ordered new with the car. Like, the antenna's probably been on the car since it was purchased new, because it was ordered with the car. But if you look, you've got original 4-blade fan, original generator, original starter, original oil canister in that green color. Original fuel pump, I'm pretty sure that's an original fuel pump, which is really good because the aftermarket ones are apparently terrible. If you look at, you know, the worst damage, paint damage, is here, you know, but the metal's real solid, you know. So, you know, and I put in like these steering joints. They were pretty blown out when I bought the car, and then, you know, when I was installing those, I spun a bolt, so I had to pull the entire steering rack to get at it, and put in the aluminum blocks in the steering as well as the ball joints, and you'll see that in the videos, the underside videos. The horns actually don't function because of that one wire, but the relay does function. The horns did actually function, but that one wire came loose, and the horns don't function because of that wire. But you know, you'll see in the videos, the startup videos and the like, the engine mounts are definitely blown. They kind of, you know, the engine rocks around a bit when it's at rough idle, but once it settles into a smooth idle, you'll see that you know, it's fine. But of course, it does need new engine mounts, new battery. I put that in, like, you know, like a year or two ago. One of the things I really like about this car is that it really doesn't have any grounding issues. You know, I'll you know, it'll sit sometimes for months, honestly, and then I just jump in, choke it up, fire it up, and it doesn't drain the battery, which is kind of amazing for the age of the vehicle, as well as, you know, I mean, all the wiring's original. You know, it's blue wiring. And you know, I've thought about, you know, rewiring the entire car and the like, but you know, I mean, with those the wiring harnesses, it's like this bright blue, and it doesn't really kind of match the patina of the vehicle. And the wiring is all original. I mean, if you look over here, if you look at his fuse box, 2 fuses, of course, the voltage regulator box, you know, and you know, I mean, I really debated on whether to like pull the fan and put in a hurricane fan, or put in an electric fan and put in an aluminum radiator, and you know, the Protronics ignition and the like. But you know, you'll see that, I mean, the car just runs really, really well. And so, you know, I didn't want to be that guy, the ham-fisted guy who comes in and modifies a whole bunch of stuff and throws in a bunch of, you know, you got to do it right. And I just keep coming back to just how original the car actually feels. It looks, feels, it has that feel to it. You know, the dash, it feels like the dash has never been apart, except maybe someone putting in some bulbs. You know, I really don't think the engine's been out of the car. I think the paint is all original. Again, who knows? But I really think the paint's just original. If you look at this one ding here, that one's my fault. All the rest were on the car when I purchased it, but that one's my fault. But you look at it and you don't see a bunch of layers of goopy, sloppy paint of something, you know, I mean, this looks like this is original paint. And single stage, of course, it shines up real nice. Okay, so let's go to the interior.